Welcome to another episode of The Office. It is always a pleasure to have you with us. In today's episode, we are joined by a VIP, a very busy gentleman who has managed to take some time off his schedule to stop at the office and have a chat with me. We will be discussing his experience in HR and leadership, and trust me when I tell you, we have a lot to learn from him. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us. We will be right back.
The Office is brought to you by Renwick & Company Limited, multi-graphics powered by Expert Group and the Goddard Catering Group.
The business environment is rapidly evolving. We must continually adapt to remain competitive. At HRWise, we help businesses create and sustain a competitive advantage through their people. Let us help you develop solutions for recruiting and selecting the right talent, improving employee engagement, managing performance, and much more. Realize the true potential of your workforce. Harness the power of your people. HRWise, we partner for success.
A great deal on my furniture. Great stuff, super strong, best thing on the market.
Your furniture says a lot about your business. For best quality, durability, and style, Global Office Furniture from Renwick is the only choice for any serious business. Don't be fooled by cheap supplies from other commercial houses. Let Global Furniture speak for your business. Think Renwick & Company. Think global, because value is always in style.
I'm often asked, what's the best part of my job? And I'm quick to say, it's the tasty part. The presentation, the cooking, the creativity, the quality. The moment I peek to see another satisfied guest and client in all possible settings. Cutting, biting, sharing, and smiling, knowing our team at GCG events is simply outstanding.
With God as my guide, I pledge allegiance to my country, St. Lucia. I proclaim that I will serve my country with pride and dignity and will defend it with vigor and valor in the pursuit of excellence, justice, and equality for all.
My heart, my home, my St. Lucia. Show your sense of pride and patriotism.
Thank you for staying with us. Today I'm joined by His Excellency Dr. Didacus Jules, Director General of the OECS. Dr. Jules has extensive regional and international experience, most of which is focused on education, social policy, and organizational transformation. He has been in his current role as Director General of the OECS since May 2014. Before that, he served as Registrar and Chief Executive Officer of the Caribbean Examinations Council, leading a thorough modernization of the council. He also served as Vice President Human Resources Cable and Wireless St. Lucia and Permanent Secretary for Education and Human Resource Development in St. Lucia, as well as Permanent Secretary for Education and Chief Education Officer in Revolutionary Grenada. He has provided consultancy services to national governments, regional and international organizations in the Caribbean, Africa, Europe, and North America. You see, when I said we were joined by a VIP, I was not joking. My very good friend and mentor, Dr. Jules, thank you so much for being here.
Welcome.
So, Dr. Jules, you know that at HRWise, we aim to change the face of HR and demonstrate the integral role that HR plays within our organizations. What is your view of HRM and its place within the organizational structure?
Well, Dorothy, first of all, if I may venture to say that I think the role of HRWise should be more than changing just the face of HR. To be more explicit, you have to fundamentally change the perception and the role of HR in organizations. I think in St. Lucia and generally in the Caribbean, we have a total underappreciation of the vital importance of that function in driving any organization, whether it be a public sector agency, a private company, an NGO. The human resource dimension is what drives the engine. So if I may extend the metaphor, it's like a car. Whether you drive a high-end BMW, an Audi, or a jalopy, or a cart with a horse, what really determines the effectiveness of that vehicle is the driver. And the driver is the human resource and the capacity of that human resource within the organization. So we need to rethink HR very carefully and recognize that it has an important role to play, again, regardless of the type of business, whether it's a school, whether it's a factory, whether it's a WASCO or whoever. The human resource capacity, the attitude, the competencies of the people in the organization will determine the success of the organization or its failure.
Yeah. I mean, that is so true. And one of the biggest challenges that we face today, and I'm speaking about HRWise in our quest to really help to change that mindset, is that even persons within the field don't appreciate the value that the field offers. And so for me, I find that to be, very difficult.
It's contradictory.
Yeah, because you're within the field, but you don't even understand the value and the significance of the role that you play. I was in a meeting recently and somebody made a comment that everybody is an HR manager. And everybody, not an HR manager, everybody's an HR practitioner, because once you manage people, you're HR. What do you have to say about that?
Well, first of all, I think it's sad that practitioners have that view. And that is because, and I'm being brutally frank here, because a lot of people have sought advice from me. Even before HR emerged, I remember in the very early stages advising some people that HR was about 20 years ago, that HR was going to be one of the emergent occupations that needed to be taken seriously. And in fact, some of the persons who consulted me went on to become HR managers. They studied HR. But the thing about HR is that people need to understand that it is a practice, it is an area of professional competence in and of itself. I know a lot of people who have gone to do MBAs. And in doing an MBA, they're faced with classical options. You do financial, MBA, the financial dimension of the MBA, or you do the HR dimension, or you do the management dimension. And for most people, the HR one looks like the easiest function because there's no mathematics to start with. And I'm not saying that lightly. I'm saying that based on my past lives and the experience I've had in counseling and advising people.
Yeah, I can definitely.
So they figure HR is an easy thing to do. It's just managing people, because embedded in their heads is a notion of HR as just personnel management.
Right.
You hire people. HR they see as running itself effectively because the rules are there, the staff rules are there, and so on. But it requires much more than that. Now, in a sense, the person who made that comment about everybody being an HR practitioner once you manage people, they're only partially right. In that, if you are from a supervisor, anybody who has to manage people has to take the HR dimension of their work seriously. And in fact, what determines their success or failure is really that HR piece.
Right.
So if I work in an engineering firm, I may be a top-class engineer and I'm managing other engineers. I know my stuff technically, I'm world-class, the other engineers are good as well. The issue at work here as a manager is not your technical competence as an engineer. What is at play here is your ability to mobilize a team to, one, function as a team, and for people to think and act as a team and deliver on the objectives and the deliverables that have been set for the firm. So if you're managing a project, you have timelines, you have budgets, you have to deliver on time, in budget. Now, delivering on time and in budget, while obviously it requires technical ability to do that, at the end of the day, it's always about attitudes and competencies that are the soft competencies, people's ability to think out of the box, to work as a team, to give dedicated service, right attitudes. These are the things that make the difference.
Okay, we're going to take that when we come back. We need to take a break at this point, so stay with us, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I'm often asked, what's the best part of my job? And I'm quick to say, it's the tasty part. The presentation, the cooking, the creativity, the quality. The moment I peek to see another satisfied guest and client in all possible settings, cutting, biting, sharing, and smiling, knowing our team at GCG events is simply outstanding.
A great deal on my furniture. Great stuff, super strong, best thing on the market.
Your furniture says a lot about your business. For best quality, durability, and style, Global Office Furniture from Renwick is the only choice for any serious business. Don't be fooled by cheap supplies from other commercial houses. Let Global Furniture speak for your business. Think Renwick and Company. Think global, because value is always in style.
The business environment is rapidly evolving. We must continually adapt to remain competitive. At HRWise, we help businesses create and sustain a competitive advantage through their people. Let us help you develop solutions for recruiting and selecting the right talent, improving employee engagement, managing performance, and much more. Realize the true potential of your workforce. Harness the power of your people. HRWise, we partner for success.
People are a company's single biggest asset and by far your largest expense. So managing your workforce is no easy task. There's productivity, engagement, talent management, discipline, labor laws, and the list goes on. Now there's a simple way with HRWise. The Office, every Tuesday at 9 p.m. on Choice TV. Get a head start and see how easy HR can be.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We're joined by Dr. Didacus Jules, Director General of the OECS. Dr. Jules, before the break we were talking about the need to look beyond just the technical aspects of the job when you have the responsibility for managing people.
Right. So I explained how everybody who manages people does have an HR responsibility. But an HR responsibility does not make you responsible for the full range of HR. And someone who's a manager of persons would be responsible principally, as I explained, for ensuring that the persons working within their unit or their remit work as a team, they work effectively. They are responsible for inspiring and guiding and motivating those people. So that is the HR component of their job as a supervisor.
Right.
This is different from the role of an HR professional. HR within the business or the entity itself is really what most people refer to as a business partner. In other words, HR has to have a high-level seat at the leadership table, at the executive level, and for it to perform its strategic function, it has to look at the entire cycle or ecosystem of human capacity within the organizations. By that I mean it has an important role to play, first of all, in defining the roles that have to be established within the structure of the company. And these roles, if you don't get them right, then you're setting yourself up for failure even before you start doing business.
Exactly.
Because you have to ensure that those functions don't overlap too widely, that they are fit for purpose, that they provide the skills and competencies that the entity requires for it to work effectively and smoothly. So it also means that it should not be overstaffed if you do that right.
Exactly.
So that's one thing. Then you come to the point of hiring persons. The hiring process is perhaps one of the most critical functions of HR, because it should take very careful deliberation to do effectively. You have to, first of all, define the job descriptions properly and be very clear about the competencies that you are looking for. Now, one of the weaknesses in HR generally I've found is that people focus on the technical dimensions of the job, and they don't take time to define what are the attitudes, the attributes,
the soft skills that go with
competencies that are required. And that's where things like psychometric assessments become important. And everywhere I've worked, I've introduced psychometric assessments, because that is very important to tell you what is the mindset of the person, what is their attitude, how do they deal with conflict, for example. How are they the type of, is the person the type of person who would throw their hands up at failure, or is it the type of person who would learn from failure? How enthusiastic are they about their work?
Okay.
And there are other dimensions to the cycle, because as you go through that, then the question of training. A big mistake that a lot of people make at a personal level is to believe that I have a degree, so that it's a label on my sleeve. I've made it, right? Especially if you have something like a PhD. And I often tell people, that's one of the sad things about a lot of people having PhDs. They wear it on their sleeve as if I am now it, right? Now, when you finish that process, you should be humbled by the extent of knowledge out there and the fact that even after having done that, there's so much more to learn, you know?
Yeah.
So it's not just hiring for qualifications, and in fact, increasingly what we see happening in the workplace, in the world of work, is that people are downplaying degrees or qualifications as being permanent. And increasingly what is happening is that in a lot of cutting-edge professions, you are now required to show recertification at periodic points in intervals in your career. So if you're doing, if you're a real HR professional, you can't come with a master's degree in HR and think that that's it. If you are a certified HR professional, then every 3 or 5 years you have to recertify. The same thing is happening in some of the medical profession, that doctors are required to keep abreast, engineers are required. Some of that has not caught up to us in the Caribbean as yet. But if we want to be world class, we have to think in that way.
All right. Let's take that up after the break. We need to say thank you to our sponsors, so we'll be right back.
Great deal on my furniture. Great stuff. Super strong. Best thing on the market.
Your furniture says a lot about your business. For best quality, durability, and style, Global Office Furniture from Renwick is the only choice for any serious business. Don't be fooled by cheap supplies from other commercial houses. Let Global Furniture speak for your business. Think Renwick and Company. Think global, because value is always in style.
I'm often asked, what's the best part of my job? And I'm quick to say, it's the tasty part. The presentation, the cooking, the creativity, the quality. The moment I peek to see another satisfied guest and client in all possible settings. Cutting, biting, sharing, and smiling, knowing our team at GCG Events is simply outstanding.
God as my guide, I pledge allegiance to my country, Saint Lucia. I will proclaim that I will serve my country with pride and dignity, with vigor and valor, the pursuit of excellence, justice and equality for all.
My heart, my home, my St. Lucia. Show your sense of pride and patriotism.
The business environment is rapidly evolving. We must continually adapt to remain competitive. At HRWise, we help businesses create and sustain a competitive advantage through their people. Let us help you develop solutions for, recruiting and selecting the right talent, improving employee engagement, managing performance, and much more. Realize the true potential of your workforce. Harness the power of your people. HRWise, we partner for success.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Dr. Jules, this has been an interesting conversation, but I know you still have so much more to share with us.
Well, yeah, I was saying that if you're doing a 4-year degree right now at this point in our history, by the time you finish your 4th year of a 4-year program, what you would have learned in the 1st and 2nd year will most likely be obsolete.
Yes.
So far less if you've graduated and you spend 4 years in 3-4 years in a job, regardless of what the area is, you need to keep abreast, and you keep abreast by, professional subscription to professional journals, attending conferences, being part of professional associations, reading and keeping up, with what's going on. Some people actually periodically go back to school. That's why, for example, even after a PhD, there's something called a postdoc,
right? And
you can do several postdocs to maintain the academic merit of your degree. So that's going to be critical, and especially in certain areas that are affected by technology, because the pace of innovation in technology is so rapid now that you literally have to keep abreast every 6 months in the Caribbean in order to keep abreast. In some other places, it's an even shorter cycle.
Yeah.
And then the last part of the life cycle is what you do about non-performing employees. Again, what has happened is that people tend to, first of all, the front line of that is the manager. And that's why I said earlier, I didn't totally disagree with the person who says that you're an HR practitioner if you manage people. But the fact is, a lot of people, they like the power of being a manager,
right?
But they run away from the responsibility of actually taking the hard decisions that have to be made.
And we see that all the time.
And then suddenly it becomes HR's responsibility.
Exactly.
Now, if I am your frontline manager, I cannot rely on HR to pull you up. And in any case, it should never reach this, for something to reach a stage where you have to be terminated from an organization for non-performance. I would say part of that responsibility lies with the manager. With the manager, because your manager should be having several conversations with you throughout. Pointing out to you shortcomings, also recognizing your accomplishments and achievements, because nobody is perfect. There'll be areas of strength.
And providing opportunities for you to improve.
Exactly, and training where necessary and so on. I mean, usually the things that to me are really critical for getting rid of somebody is where you have situations of, like really blatant ethical breaches.
Serious misconduct issues.
And serious misconduct issues, But in terms of performance, if you have a good performance system in place, unless somebody has really was a mishire in the first place, there's no reason why they should not fall short on the performance front.
Right. Well, I always say that poor performance has a lot to do with the manager, because if at the end of a review period, a manager says that this person is underperforming, the first question I'm going to ask is, what did you do about it, and why are we ending the period with this result?
In fact, there's an interesting story. A friend of mine who's a real HR professional, this person has worked internationally, and she was saying to me that she had come back to St. Lucia after many years abroad, serving in very senior HR positions, and decided she wanted to make a contribution at home, so applied to a few places to fill the HR role.
Right.
And she went through an interview with a certain organization, and at the end of it, they asked, did she have any questions? So she asked, what are your major problems in here? And they said, well, the main problem is middle management. So she said to them, well, that can't be. If middle management is a problem, then the real problem is senior management.
Right.
And then they pointed out to her that of the 12 people around the table, most of them were senior management.
So I guess she didn't get a job.
She didn't get a job, but she did indicate that it didn't change her response anyway.
Well, it was a factual response.
Fact,
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so based on your experience, which ranges public sector, private sector, national, international, regional, what have you found to vary in terms of how HR is treated or where HR is placed within these different areas that you've been exposed to?
I have found that there is generally a lack of understanding across the board of the importance of HR as a business function, regardless of what the type of business is. And everywhere I've worked, if I think back, even in a company like Cable and Wireless, you mentioned my tenure at Cable and Wireless as VP HR. To me, even in a company like that, I came in at a time when competition was intense because they were just moving into the liberalized mobile environment. The company was more concerned about its bottom line and its profits and the extraction of these profits than about the motivation and inspiration and guidance of employees. Now, there are two ways you can extract profit from an institution. You can work people to the bone so that you optimize the results of their labor.
Right.
Or you can inspire and motivate them to work beyond the call of duty, in which case you will reap even far greater benefits. And that, I think, was a mistake that many people make. So they go by the rules and they drive people and they don't introduce... A workplace where employees are happy and feel that they are valued, they will give much more. Willingly and beyond willingly, because they will be ready to think and innovate. If they feel they have a stake in the business and the business cares for them as well, then much more will come out of that than an uncaring business approach when it comes to your employees.
Guess what? We're out of time. So, Dr. Jules, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me here today. And I look forward to a continuation of our discussion. So join us next week where we'll be taking the conversation to a broader level. Until next time, follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.